share on all your social media platforms. We are about to get started. Hey, everyone. It is Miss Flo, and you are washing? You're not washing your clothes. You are watching and listening to Go with the Flow, a podcast where I talk about anything and everything because it's my podcast. I own it. And it's very empowering to me. As you notice, we are not on our usual scheduled day on Friday. Um, but there are a couple of reasons why I have this special episode today. So, as I explained in my last stream, I will be chaperoning a school field trip that will go over the weekend. So, I won't be near technology where I'm able to stream for the most part. And two, it's just something that an issue that really needs to be addressed, especially during Black History Month. And I really want to pull in as many of my viewers, as many of my supporters to come on this live and really join the conversation. If you are currently watching this, please share this on your social media, so you could, because like that's the whole point of me doing this stream. Like I don't want to just hear myself. I want to be able to hear from my audience in real time. So please share this stream and get as many people on board as possible. Um, well, first, let me just welcome back my guest host, Marcel. Thank you so much for coming in and just being a part of this podcast. You have been so helpful to me in this journey, and I really appreciate you for coming on this special episode.
Thank you for having me once again. It's always a privilege coming back.
And I really do want to hear your insight, but let me get everybody caught up on the situation. So I had made a post reacting to um some foolishness that I seen online. I saw this post on Hollywood Unlocked how these young students decided to pull this joke of handing out cotton balls to their peers during Black History Month. And everybody in the comments had like the same reaction that I did. I was just like, this is in such poor taste. It's just like it boggles my mind. Like we're still doing these racist pranks, um, or like just insulting and belittling. Whether it was like a white kid doing it or like a black kid doing it, it was just like why? Like why are we just seen as cotton pickers and things of that nature? And I suggested, this wouldn't happen if we had critical race theory, taught in our schools because it wouldn't really be seen as funny. And my comments blew up. And let me just say this before I show the comments. Like, I don't understand how these people are finding my posts. I need Instagram to explain their algorithm because if I'm tagging like education, Black History Month, critical race theory, those type of hashtags, why is it popping up on people's For You page if they are clearly against critical race theory? Explain, Instagram. Explain. But that may be a separate episode, but I'm going to go ahead and go over these comments. Like, it's very similar to what I did with the reparations episode, but for that post, I didn't respond in the comments as much as I did here, because one, I just have like this fascination with like why are people afraid of critical race theory? Like why are people so dead set against it? Because like if those who don't know or that are new to the podcast, like I majored in criminal justice, right? And part of that is that as a criminal justice major, you study why people are criminals, you study the law, how it operates, and you kind of dive into race and racism and racial bias in the study because it plays such a huge role in this country. And I can say like I actually benefited. I had a better understanding of the law. It really changed my perception about what was going on in my community, as opposed to just thinking a lot of the people who I saw doing wrong or may not be living up to their higher expectation. It made me understand how they got there and be a little bit more sympathetic and look towards other solutions than just simply locking them up or having harsher punishment. So I would say like critical race theory is like something that I think should not just be introduced at the college level, but high school and middle school because let's be honest, this generation is wising up and I don't think too many of them are going to opt to go to college. So they could be really um just they won't have access to that knowledge per se. And I think I definitely think it should be taught in schools, but we've seen pushback in Florida, probably any other conservative state. Um, but I'm going way ahead of myself. I'm gonna let you guys, my audience, take a look at the comments, and of course, Marcel, did you had a chance to read the comments yet, or like, cause like they're kind of wild.
I still haven't actually. Let me go look.
You, yeah, cause hopefully, excuse me, you can kind of follow along with me. All right, so I'm gonna try to like scroll through real quick because it's kind of a lot, but I do have like one so like ally that was in this from Gabe 829 who was explaining critical race theory to those that you know may not know it what it is. So he was kind enough to kind of break it down for those that are listening. Gabe, I'm just calling him Gabe. I'm not saying his whole IG name again. But Gabe stated for people who are too ignorant to do any research, I'm sorry, CRT, critical race theory, is defined as a set of ideas holding the racial bias and inherent in many parts of Western society, especially in its legal and social institutions. It's also defined as a cross-disciplinary examination by social and civil rights scholars on how laws, social/political movements, and media are shaped by conceptions of race and ethnicity. CRT is essentially an analysis on how systematic racism is a part of American society and how many problems regarding race are still around today. But apparently, the people in the comments section are, well, he just goes in. Um, but yeah, he basically doesn't really agree with everybody else is saying in the comments. And so I do appreciate you, Gabe, for really stepping in and helping out in the conversation. But then we have people like Jade Hart. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. They stated people don't need to be taught what they can observe in real time. The issue in your culture is your culture. You want to see change. It starts with what? The issue in your culture is your culture. you want to see change, it starts with yourself. And I simply replied, because it was very weird. So it was like, you believe that people shouldn't learn from other races' culture, and FYI, there are plenty of nonprofit and educators like myself that provide opportunities for our students to go to college and mentor them well after they graduate high school. It just doesn't get media attention. And that's just one of the and there were other similar comments like this that kept blaming, like, oh, it's not the system fault, like take responsibility for the problems within your own community, things of that nature. And I'm just like, sir, I'm sorry, I just had to like switch my line on because I just noticed a lighting issue, but there we go. Much better. Um, but yeah, it was like a very, like, I hate when they do that because they try to say like, well, you need to stop blaming America. It's your own fault that your life is like this. And I'm just, I mean, what is your opinion on that comment, Marcel?
Personally, I feel like people always trying to say like the problem is within, and yes, that is a point, correct? Like if we want a certain change, we do have to start changing each other, but it's hard to build the majority of like strong black like people or fix something that's been a generational issue because of America. For example, people can be taught by their grandparents, that how to be strong and how to be uh, honest and loved in your black skin. But also, in the same token, a lot of people come from broken families because of those same situations.
Mhm.
So it's like you can't try to provide something um, that is not the same. And if anybody's still curious about what I'm trying to say, it's like when people try to compare all black people to Barack Obama because he's a
Mm,
success story, correct?
yeah,
But everyone wasn't given the same opportunity and or had the same lifestyle and or grew up in the same environment as the Obamas. So it's like if you're not given the same opportunity and or um, privilege that certain other black people have over one another, because some people do benefit from certain situations, right? But everybody does not live the same lifestyle.
mm,
And with that being said, it's like trying to break generational trauma and generational,
wealth.
um, I guess, wealth and laws is really hard. You have a lot of black kids who came from nothing, so they always think they're going to be nothing, no matter how many black teachers they see be the example, right? Because you need a everybody is inspired and or brought together by different things. People have different role models. People have different situations they're in. So you can't just say, "Oh, we can try to fix a problem with them," because we try to do that, but everybody's not going to be touched by the same thing. Everybody's not going to listen to the same type of people. There are different types of situational issues that are brought into the black community from different pinpoints of their lifestyle because of the way America has treated black people. The way that somebody's brought up in Northwest um, black neighborhoods can be different than the way someone's brought up in Southeast black neighborhoods. And so it's not just like, oh, try to fix the problem from within, because we're doing that, but that's only half the battle.
Right.
You
People
know,
keep, I mean, people
Pe-
keep forgetting it's a catch-up game. It's like
exactly.
it's like hundreds of years behind. And let's not forget, like, if y'all truly want to understand the issues within our community, there are times where we have really tried to get up on our feet and really do things. In the past, we had black towns with black-owned businesses. We had families that were together, but then if it wasn't a white angry mob that was burning down towns, it was the government stepping in, creating laws that us at a disadvantage. And if people had a better understanding of that, I feel that because this is the one thing that I really the one major thing that I took away from being as a criminal justice major or anybody in the field of like sociology, psychology, and things of that nature. Like once you analyze and understand the causation, then you can come up with the solution to reverse it. And like we did that with our documentary Fading Color, which is out now and available at codefnn.com. Free, you can watch it. Um, but our main thing was okay, we understand. I'm going to take a general example, and I talked about this in my reparation episode. If you take something like redlining that was in place, that was a legal law at the time, saying that this area, group of black people, this neighborhood is considered worthless or like not really worth selling to, or just labeling as such, or like refusing to really give loans to black people, then you know what I mean? Like think about how far behind everybody is because like a house value goes up and up and up every year. It's not really gonna go down. So if you had a white family that bought a house that was like 80,000 and then they pass it down to their kids and it's like worth 1.5 million now, like their family has said they're good. They have a roof over their head and they have the ability to flip it, sell it, and continue to make more money as opposed to the same black family that was denied access or denied loans or were given loans with a higher interest rate and couldn't buy the house at the time that was worth like 80,000. I don't think those are the right numbers. Don't pay attention to the numbers, just pay attention to the scenario. Um, and they couldn't buy it back then. They just all they could do was really rent. They don't really have anything they could pass down to their, uh, to their kin. That puts us behind. We're just now really getting into that conversation of like generational wealth, and it takes a minute to kind of really put it in these kids' heads. You know what I mean? Because they have a different form or a different understanding of status. But yeah, I just like that whole like look at your culture, try to fix it on your own. It's not our responsibility. It's like America understood how it broke and damaged a group of people, but refuses to really own up and take the time to put the pieces back together. And it's really disheartening. But let's move on
It's
to some of.
also
Oh, go ahead.
just like one more thing to add. It's just like also the fact that it's so easy for you to get on an app and say something without you having to actually experience the black lifestyle. That's something you would never experience. And that's one of the things that's like it's easier said than done because until you really start facing a racial adversity, then you can say whatever you want, right? You can like, oh, try to rebuild this, but when you're constantly, put in a place where you feel like you have to fix uh, your lifestyle or the basically when you were born on like the totem pole, like you don't understand what that's like until you really experience it. Not saying that white people don't know what that's like, but y'all deal with it on a totally different platform.
Hmm.
Totally different platform. Like you overcoming something, not saying there aren't white people who go through poverty or negligence or any of the other things, but you still are looked at differently because you appeal to the people who think that they built America, right? Well,
Hmm.
found America, y'all did build it to what it is today, but y'all didn't find shit. So it's like y'all are sitting here like, oh well, try to fix it from within. But if let somebody sit here and tell y'all that y'all need to fix it from within and see how y'all be looking. Because y'all swear y'all shit don't stink, and that's the
Mm,
end of that conversation.
woo, 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 woo. Um, I mean, you raised some like really good points. I think it's like it's almost like they have to understand like for those African Americans that are successful, the best way I could put it is like a Chris Rock's quote.
Mm.
And he said one of his stand-ups, he said like in his neighborhood, you have JC, who's one of the greatest rappers of all time. You have I think he said Mary J. Blige, one of the greatest R&B singers of all time, and maybe like somebody else, right? For like the black people that's in this community. The white guy that's in his community is a dentist. Not the greatest dentist of all time. He didn't discover anything. You know what I mean? He's just a dentist. And that would like speak volumes. Like we have to do twice as much to get half of anything in this country. And I need people to start realizing that. And you know how you can realize that? With critical race theory. Critical race theory in the classrooms. It's not that hard. It's like I think like if I wish I had it in when I was a student because I think like I would really thrive in that. All right. Let's continue with the comments. Something dad, like Seth dad was CEFS dad just said no CRT. Then okay, so I had a bit of exchange with Archbishop Balls. Archbishop Balls. So we had like a bit of a back and forth. He says CRT is wrong, though it's been proven. And you know, we just had like this whole exchange. Um, so like, you know, I'm asking like, where's your evidence? And you know, I hate when they say like just go look it up. Like, no, if you're telling me like something is wrong, like give me your sources because I really wanted to see like where he was coming from. And it was we had like a whole back and forth thing. What was his last? Um, okay, there he is. Okay. So please get back to me. No, right, I'm sorry. So he gave me the sources of where this is what how he determined that CRT is wrong. He has watched PragerU critical with on critical race theory on YouTube. Um, and then he also cited Ben Shapiro, which and Malcolm Nance on critical race theory on real time with Bill Maher. And if you're not familiar with Ben Shapiro, um, I saw a bit of his work when I had the Snapchat app. I don't have it anymore. He is he's a conservative commentator online. Um, I really stopped listening to him when he was complaining about an outcry for more representation in Hollywood. And like it really wasn't really clicking for him at all. And but like okay, so I didn't know what PragerU was until I I looked it up because I wanted to see like what was he talking about because he said it was that's a college. And you saw the video, Marcel. If you ever get a chance to watch it, and I'll put it in the chat with like what it's called because y'all, this was wild. Their whole take on critical race theory is nothing more than propaganda at best because the whole point of the video is to basically say critical race theory just makes you think of race all the time and nothing else. And no matter what you do, your actions would be considered racist. Like this is such fear mongering nonsense. And then I saw the video first. Then I went and searched up Prager. Am I pronouncing it? It's like Prager. Prager?
The
PragerU?
Prager or Prager, who knows?
Okay, like PragerU. It is a conservative nonprofit that's using digital media in a creative way. Ciao. This was a mess. Like the first scenario they give is like a white person and a black person enter a grocery store, and there's like, well, you're considered racist if you if you serve the black person first because you think he's a thief, and if you serve the white person first, then you're racist because you're treating the black person as a second class citizen. I was just like, what is this propaganda? Is this what like people are really exposed to? Like this was
It sounds like something from like South Park. Like it sounds like
it
something like
looked
made
like
up.
I couldn't tell if he was being serious. I was
Yeah,
just
he
like,
doesn't look.
is this like an onion bit? Like from the onion? Like it didn't look real. Like to the fact that they were really trying to say that critical race theory will hold the country back, it would keep us from moving forward from our racist past, or just to insinuate that racism is over and done with.
And that black people are choosing to victimize themselves because they don't want to do better. Question mark?
I'm like, did we not deal with in our lifetime Trayvon Martin, who was racially profiled because he had a hoodie, and George Zimmerman thought like he was gonna break into houses in a neighborhood or whatever, right? That's racial bias. We deal with there is still lynchings that are happening in this country. That's still happening, by the way. We still deal with racist pranks. If it's not the cotton ball or the kids putting on blackface and saying racial stuff to racist, Jesus Christ, I need to wake up. Saying racist things to each other because they think it's ha ha funny, or like even in colleges, uh, like there are instances. Let me slow down because I'm getting worked up. There have been times where a black college student is minding their business on campus, whether like sitting down or trying to rest, or trying to get access to the dorm, but is often requested to show their ID, where their white counterparts don't have to deal with that. Or I think the time like Ziggy to like they had a racist incident, at their campus. I can't remember what it was. Like I think they had like it was either dealing with a KKK hood or like it was around like the Trump election, and like they were being like super stupid. Like I think they were like just going around dressing up like Klansmen a bit. I have to look back on that because they shared that story, and think that was if it wasn't last year, it's like maybe about like 2 years ago, and kids are still doing this. Racism isn't gone. It's we still deal with it. You still have people with racial biases that are heads at the table and make decisions based off those biases.
And those are it's just in its most blatant form. Racism still also just exists in a whole nother form. It's just like just being prejudiced like at its best. It's like hidden in so many things, which is also so present. So that's why it's hard for people to even explain or even understand how they're being, you know, racially targeted. You know,
It happens in DC too. Like DC is like
definitely.
a very, liberal city, but it can, occasionally we would run into a Karen. I remember one time I was on a field trip with my students. We were conducting interviews at the wharf, and this lady, I guess she worked security or like at one of the places. She went up and asked like what we were doing. Um, said like the area was like private property or something, but like as far as my knowledge, the wharf is open to everybody. Like there are restaurants like up and down the docks. So I don't know what she was going on about. But like I calmly said, like, we're doing a story on global warming and climate change. And, she just, politely walked away. But, I didn't notice her asking anybody else or checking anybody else. It's like straight to me. I had mostly black kids. I had one white girl with me, but, and that people need to like really understand like racism didn't go away. Us having a conversation about racism, whether it was back then, how it still affects us now, it it doesn't make us victims necessarily. It makes us more so survivors, in my opinion. And I'm not going to look at my white counterparts or my white coworkers any different because of what I learn or what I know. You know what I mean? Like I understand that what happened isn't their fault. But what we are asking for are more allies. Like we can't change it on our own. You know what I mean? Even back then with the freedom riders, they had white allies that would put themselves in the same dangerous situations um with their black counterparts because they wanted to fight to end racism. And they were at risk of being lynched, set on fire, beaten up. Like they took those beatings too. And then y'all in this in my comments, which I still don't understand how y'all found my post, because anything I tagged or was talking about apparently don't appeal to y'all whatsoever. But I digress. But for y'all to be in these comments, like what are y'all afraid of? For real, because y'all not in danger. Y'all not in danger. You're not at risk of being targeted because you want to understand how the game is played. People keep forgetting America is real life Monopoly. It really is. Do we have a black Monopoly board? Is there?
Oh, girl, I don't know.
They have so many versions. I think they did, but if people, America is Monopoly, and at a roll of the dice, you could either be very successful, wealthy, have, property, a family, things like that, or have certain disadvantages that either like lands you in jail, because let's be honest, everybody that's in jail isn't necessarily guilty. Some people that are like currently in jail are still awaiting trial. They haven't been convicted, but still you lose years of their life because how the bail system in our criminal justice system currently works. And we don't have, I mean, I could, so many things I could dive into, but I didn't want to like go too long in. I might do a part two. I ain't gonna hold you and just like really elaborate on this because I still got to pack for the trip. But um, I just need people to understand a couple things. And there's more to the comments, but a lot of it is like really ignorant. A lot of people are just like adamantly no and like referring to our people as criminals. Like it's just really ugly. But there's a couple things that I just wanted to really point out and if they're watching or if they get to check it out, critical race theory is not focusing on or have people just seen as their race. We don't like we want to follow like Dr. King's ideology and have people judged by their character. But you have to be self-aware that in our country, America has a history of creating laws to hold minorities back. And it's still happening today. You still have lawmakers who have racial biases. You have people on the Supreme Court because let's not forget they tried to, I don't think they tried, I think they did. Like they are trying to get rid of voter rights laws, or they're trying to create laws where it makes it more difficult to vote. And the only reason they're doing that is because there's power in you voting. And they saw how we showed out during the Obama election. They saw that and they got scared. They realized that we are paying more attention to politics and that we're going to vote out these bigots and put in people more like us that could actually change the laws and make things fair and balanced. But they don't want fair and balanced. They want the scale to tip in their favor and leave everybody else high and dry. And what I saw with this PragerU video, this is just more of their propaganda tactics. It's not going to divide the country. It won't kill you to be aware of all of these laws that's kept us back. It won't hurt to recognize maybe if you do have some racial bias. You know what I think the big issue is? Because this video was very um patriotic. It's saying it's in CRT is attacking America values, that is flipping the country upside down, showing off the American flag and the shape of our country. And I think what we are currently seeing from a lot of people that are in my comments is like the 5 stages of grief, right? The first one is denial. Okay, like stay with me, Marcel. Like
Hmm.
so denial, right? They are in complete disbelief that America is still racist or that a lot of what happened in the past is still affecting us now. They think like we had, we ended segregation, even though most schools not really desegregated or you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like whether it's through the effects of redlining and how the school district and neighborhood, you know what I mean? Like, we're still feeling that now. And people just can't, there are people that still like pledge allegiance to the flag almost every day. Um, there are people that are just like that truly love this country and believe that it could do no wrong, that America is number one. Like, there are people that have the American flag painted on their car, have it tattooed, and I'm just like, it's denial. It's like this is grief because part of their innocence is dying. And when they hear the truth of how a land that's called a country that's called land of the free, or this is where you have the American dream where you can pull yourself up from the bootstrap, work hard, and you can have any opportunity that you want. Now granted, in America we probably have more opportunities than some other countries, but for some people we're still dealing with these disadvantages, and that's a tough pill to swallow for people you know So what's the next stage in grief? Do you know? After denial, there's what? Is it anger?
Um, I think it is anger.
Okay, so then you have anger. So people are like lashing out at anybody that is like for critical race theory, anybody that is like advocating for it to be in schools. They're just being
Hmm.
trolls in the comment posts, right? They have to take their anger out on somebody because they can't believe that somebody is questioning the American dream, or somebody is you know what they think is something that's talking down to America or insulting it or what have you, or
Hmm.
trying to instill white guilt or make people feel guilty for what their ancestors done. And I'm like, that's not the take that we want from this, right?
Hmm.
Um,
And then it's bargaining.
It's bargaining, right? So then you have like people that are trying to have the conversation, have the debate, and basically say like, no, like CRT isn't like what you really think it is. It's more so um problematic than that. Here's the research. Like I have PragerU or Ben Shapiro that's speaking towards it. Like, what I mean? Or like, no, we don't really want to do this because it may hurt young white kids. So like, please, don't. You could teach it to your own people, or you could teach it to your own kids. Just leave it out of the school, right? Like that's the level of bargaining I think most people are at, right? And then of course, I don't think most people have hit depression yet. I think most people are at denial and rage because that's what we're definitely
Right.
seeing right now, especially in my comments.
And
And
they
then
definitely haven't reached acceptance.
yeah, is that all five?
Yeah, that's all
Denial.
five. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance.
Okay, I just had to double check. I'm so tired. Okay, but yeah, I just like you have to accept the mess that our ancestors made, and it's okay. Other countries have done this too. Germany has acknowledged the Holocaust. They pay their respects, they pay their dues. They teach it so they don't end up, you learn your history so you don't repeat it. Okay? I
Right.
know that's been said like so much, but like it's not hitting y'all right now. You know what I mean? We look at Canada, who acknowledges their history's wrongdoing all the time. And it's fine. There's no mutiny in their country that's going on. No minorities are rising up and declaring war with the opposing side. Like none of that's happening. None of that. these conversations are challenging, they may be hard, it may take you a minute to really understand where we're coming from. But my experience as a black educator, as a teacher, what I've seen, like I work with, I have like a lot of young black men in my program, believe it or not, and they are amazing students, very bright kids, talented kids. And my greatest fear, because like as I said before, we experience some racism here and there, the occasional Karen or like microaggression in the city, but we're for the most part liberal. And my greatest fear is like when they go out to these other countries, not other countries, other states. Because like with my school, we encourage them not to go, not just to go to college, but but go far. Have an enriched experience. Does that experience include a racist prank? Being forced to show your student ID when you're on campus or living on campus? When your lighter shade counterparts don't have to do that? Is that the enriched experience that we want? And all of this can be prevented. I don't want for them to have to wait for their peers, their white counterparts, to catch up and understand and be taught critical race theory in college. Like this is something they can learn in high school. This is something they can learn in middle school. So when we get to the college level, we won't have to deal with ignorant BS at all. But y'all afraid to have the conversation. You guys are afraid that an uprising may happen. You fear that little Timmy may feel bad about himself because of what his ancestors did. Or maybe you can steer the conversation where Timmy can put in the work to be an ally. How do you become an ally? How can white people help the movement? And most of you guys are doing it already. Like I saw the when George Floyd happened and all the protests were going on, there happened to be a protest like within my neighborhood. Like my mom called me, she said like all these cars are in the east of the river parking lot. Like you have to come check it out. I just came back from an event, but like I took my camera and I went down there and I saw like everybody, black, white, brown, yellow, everybody in between speaking up. And one of the most powerful signs that I saw was like end white silence. Just take a time to like is what like end white silence. All y'all have to do is stop pretending that everything is all hunky dory. You have to understand, like, this is what gets me. People are so quick to accept conspiracy theories that'd be just way out of pocket. But when we are talking about critical race theory and how the government and those people in seats of power created laws specifically to lock black people up, black and brown people up. That's just crazy. That's just wild. Or like, get over it. No, we're not doing that anymore. We need to stop the delusion. We need to stop the gaslighting. We need to avoid propaganda material and misinformation. Critical race theory is needed in this country more than ever. And we need to lift these bans that are preventing critical race theory curriculum in our classrooms. We need to no. Enough is enough. And then I hope that those that were in my comments will come around and understand the importance of it and fight for it to be in our schools. I don't expect that anytime soon because I truly feel like you guys are still in your stages of grief, but eventually you will reach acceptance and become a true ally to the cause. Thank y'all so much for watching and listening to this special episode of Go with the Flow. Like I said up before, I may do a part two further down the line because this was a good start to the conversation, but it's not the end of it. Now, I'm going to go ahead and finish packing up for my school trip. And if you want to catch up on past episodes, everything is available on, well, the Twitch streams that I started recently are on my YouTube channel, Noir Vibes DC. And all the old podcasts when I started on audio, they are still on all platforms where you listen to podcasts, whether it's Spotify, Apple Music, um, what else? iHeart, Amazon Music. I'm on everything now. Like I'm working towards like make sure like I'm everywhere to accommodate my fans. If you missed the stream, it is okay because it'll eventually be on my YouTube channel and converted to audio so that you can listen to it later. But again, I still want to hear from you guys. I want to hear what you think. I want to hear your voice. Thank you again, Marcel, for being an excellent guest and sharing your opinions. Of course, I always value you.
Well, I'm always here to give my 2 cents. I love talking about, you know, racism in America. So I'm always gonna be down tenfold.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And as always, you guys can't go wrong when you go with the flow. And I will catch you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.